Hey, I am Jen Johnson, Realtor with Remax Rising, and this is my Let's Get Real tour. I wanted to create this to get lots of great information to the consumer because you don't know what you don't know, and I think it's very important to give information to the public and anybody that has questions about real estate or the home buying process because, you don't know what question to ask if you don't know a whole lot about the topic.
Hmm.
So I think it's great that we can come up with information along the way and just get better with each client and kind of educate them through the process.
Yeah, I believe that that's part of being a realtor is that I get asked all the time. I'm John Armstrong, by the way, and I'm the
Oh,
managing.
sorry, I didn't introduce you.
I'm the man. See how she is. I'm the managing broker at Remax Rising, and I talk to a lot of younger agents, and they're like, "What? My background is this," and I always like the teacherly backgrounds versus the salesperson backgrounds because I think people think that we're salespeople, but we're
Yeah,
more educators than salespeople.
yeah. And see, I feel like I've learned that we are huge problem solvers
Oh yeah.
and you've got to learn to really improvise and think outside the box. And I
Hmm.
love that.
Yeah, talk to somebody who's going through a transaction that's not represented and have them have a hiccup in it. Like their appraisal falls short. What do we do?
Yeah.
We're having problems with these issues on the inspections and the seller's not cooperating. What do we do? We're problem solvers. You nailed it on the head. We fix those issues.
Yeah. It's almost like we're a trained negotiator for hire, right?
Well, and that's true.
I mean,
I mean, how many times have we talked just as an office about negotiations? I mean, this is one of the things, especially when the market's hot, that we'll talk about at our meetings is why did you win? Why you were in a multiple offer? There were 10 other offers. Why did they pick you? Oh, because I came up with this, and you're kind of one of the queens of this. I came up this kind of out of left field idea that I was able to throw at the sellers to sweeten the deal.
being creative.
Being creative, and it's never been more important than when you're in a market where it takes creativity to win a multiple offer.
Absolutely. And I want to say that I absolutely love that at Remax Rising, you as the broker owner believe in fostering us and educating and lots of training and staying on top of that. We have regular meetings every week and then we have regular
Hmm.
trainings, and you're very open to any topics. If we bring something up, you don't say like, nope, that's not important. You're all about,
Right.
all right, let's think about how we can turn this into a training for everybody.
Yeah, well, it's true. Sometimes we just finished reviews with all the agents, and I get so many ideas. It's the reviews started out us thinking that they were for the agents,
Mm-hmm.
and it's ended up it's for me. It's so that I can get ideas to make. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to make this the best company we can make it.
Yes.
And when I have the input from the people who are in the trenches that we need to learn about this item. And a good example is we have new construction. I'm making a prediction that in 2026, new construction is going to be more vital in Bloomington Normal.
Really.
And we really have a short inventory of new construction right now. So our agents, a lot of the newer agents especially, really wanted to learn about the components of new construction and what you're looking for when you're showing so you can tell if a house is quality. And we went and visited with a job site
Mm-hmm.
and talked with the builder and showed things behind the scenes before the house had drywall up. So
Nice.
we're doing a second part to that next week. Now we have it's been insulated. I'm sorry, it hasn't been insulated yet, but now the plumbing and the electricals in, and there's a little bit more to see. So we're going to do a three-part field trip that a lot of our new agents are going to be experts when this is over.
Yeah.
So these are the things that's important. I mean, that's one of the things I've seen in real estate is I've seen a lot of real estate agents come and go.
Yeah.
And to me it's sad because there's a lot of times I see somebody with a lot of skill, a lot of talent that should be a great realtor, but they just weren't led yet that in the right ways. They weren't taught what you needed to be taught. And that's one of the things I think is the strength of our company is we do recognize that and make sure that everybody, whether they choose to invest the time that it takes to learn it
Yeah.
or not, we give them the opportunity. And you were definitely one of those who, in your early days, you never missed a training. And still to this day, you don't miss very many.
No, if I can help it, I like to be there
Yeah.
because I feel like I could get something from anything if
I
you're open to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this 30 years and I learn stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a job that is everything fits in a box.
No.
This is a career that we see a lot of first. And sometimes the market dictates it. I mean, like when we went through the COVID market, who would have thought we would need somebody to sign a waiver that says, I have had my vaccine and I'm going to wear footies and I'm going to make sure my hands are washed. And, we went through all that.
Yeah.
And the market has thrown curveballs at us over the years. I think back to a giant curveball that the market threw at us was when the Obama years, when they did the stimulus.
Yeah.
And it was a result of the crash of 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Inventory had built up so much, and we needed something to stimulate the housing market.
Right.
So Obama did the $8,000. I think it started out as $6,000 stimulus to anyone who bought.
Yep.
And then they extended it. And then they made it $8,000, so even sweeten it. And they put a deadline of April 30th, and I think the year was 2012, but don't quote me on that. And then April 30th, every realtor in the world was crazy busy.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how many homes I sold on April 30th, the last day, but it was more than 10 homes. By far the most
crazy.
By far the most I've ever sold in a week.
Yeah.
I did in that one day. And it was because that was the deadline. Now, May 1st hit and we heard crickets for the next year.
Really?
That stimulus threw a curveball at us. And what we didn't see is how it's going to end. And I feel like that's kind of what we went through after COVID in real estate, because we saw those really low interest rates.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of paying the price for that, because now we're kind of in that May 1st time, and interest rates seem crazy high to people when we went through almost up to 8%.
Yeah.
They weren't willing to risk their 3.5% interest rate and make a move. They wanted to.
We're still lit up.
Yeah, we're still lit up. Yeah, the room has a timer. We got to move every once in a while, Jen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the real estate market has suffered because we had those interest rates, and a lot of sellers are saying, "Okay, I'm good living in this 2-bedroom house with my 5 kids because my interest rate's 3.5."
Exactly.
Now I should move to a 5-bedroom house or a 6-bedroom house, but I got a 3.5% interest rate. And there's a point where those people say, okay, I'm willing to give my 3.5% interest rate for maybe 5.5 or 5.75 or 6, but not 8. So the really exciting thing about where we're at right now in the market is we're kind of hovering right around that 6% mark. And I believe in a lot of experts that have predicted that we get into the 5.75 range. That's going to make a lot of those people with the 3.5% and 4% interest rates say, okay, my needs have changed. I need to make a move. And the interest rate's no longer a factor because we're only changing a couple percent.
Yeah.
It's not like 4 or 5%.
So how much information do you have about this new thing that they were talking about where mortgages, they were carrying a mortgage, their rate on the next mortgage to be able to buy a house?
Yeah.
Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I've heard of it, and I'm definitely not an expert on it where I can speak about it.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Because you can carry that rate now, so you get that 3%. I mean, there's a world where that does make sense to me.
I thought so.
And you can
just idea.
Yeah, you're 30 years old and you have the same interest rate until you're 60 because you timed it just right. I think that's a very interesting concept. I think that it can help. The interest rate's no longer a factor if you move.
Yeah.
So I move. I'm carrying that same 3.5% interest rate.
Yeah.
That's a motivating factor. I think it would be really interesting to see how far this goes. I know it has legs right now.
It's very new.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
I'm curious to see how it'll be. There's
got to be some sort of a premium put on that rate. If rates are 3.5 right now, I don't think you can really do a 3.5 for the life of that loan. You'd have to have a little bit of a premium. Maybe it's 0.25% or something.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing, but
right.
It's got to be. There's got to be some kind of not penalty, but some kind of a premium, because you can't give that bare bones price and just lock it down for 30 years.
Yes, because then mortgage companies and banks would
Yeah,
never make
right.
money on all
Yeah,
the loans
and
that they do.
we want them to make money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it keeps everybody going.
right.
So you were talking about your agents
Mhm.
and your business model that you've created and you like to foster. One of those things I was wondering, like, how do you get agents to come here? Do you seek them out? What specific interview process do you have? I know you don't take just anybody.
I've said no way more than I've said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like.
And why is that important to you?
So I'm one of those people that I've always believed in zigging when other people are zagging. And in the real estate industry, new agents are hard on brokerages. They're they need more. They're a drain.
Yeah.
They're a drain on staff. You've got to constantly be doing trainings, and it's hard. So many companies say, forget new agents. We only want veteran agents.
Okay.
My mindset is sometimes veteran agents are trained in a way that I don't like them
And
trained.
you can't change it, right?
It's
Old
hard to,
habits.
yeah, it's hard to, so an example, like I started it off on this show, I don't like salespeople.
Right.
I like educators. I like people with the mindset that I'm going to be giving my client, I'm a fiduciary of my client. I'm going to give them everything to make sure this is in their best interest. I don't believe anybody, I've never in 30 years sold anybody a house. I've never talked anybody into a house. Now, and I know you've done this too. I've talked a lot of people out of them.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of talking out, but that's what makes a great realtor. That's what keeps people coming back to you. So you hear a lot of realtors that they do a lot of business and they have to create their new clients every year. They do spend a lot of money on marketing and billboards and things, and they're all over because they've got to create new clients every year. If you take care of the clients you have, I mean, we know the old adage, it's a lot easier to keep a client than it is to create a new one.
Yes.
So do the right things. And
Always.
and if you do the right things, have good integrity. And integrity, one of our agents, Jeff Todd, he told me integrity means doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Exactly.
And when you're doing the right things when nobody's looking, you've got integrity. And when you have integrity, you're going to be good in real estate.
I agree 100%.
Yes.
So that leads me to the next question. How do you feel about dual agency? And a lot of people, I want to explain what dual agency is. It is when an agent represents both the seller and the buyer in one transaction.
Okay. Go, John. How do I feel about it? So I'm not going to say I feel this way in every situation, because there are some situations it's good.
Yeah, case by case.
Case by case. But I will tell you, the last time I did dual agency was 1997. And I did it, and I was representing one of my really good friends on the sale of his house.
Right.
And in fact, I was in his wedding. And I had another friend that I was in his wedding also, and he bought the house.
Okay.
And I represented both of them. Two guys, I was in both their weddings. Now, those two weren't necessarily that close of friends. I was the connector between them. And the negotiations went like this. Asking price was $200,000. One guy offers $190 and says, you know what, I would go up to $195, but let's start at $190.
Yeah.
The other guy says, I'm not going down to $190, but I would go to $195. So both of them have told me $195 is their number.
Yeah.
He said, but let's go back at $198 right now. Ultimately, we ended up at $195. I never advised either one of them on anything to do. I'm like, I'm dual agent. I can't advise you, which was another reason I hate dual agency, because I want to, part of what you're paying for my service is my advice. And if I can't advise you on negotiations, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I want to be able to have somebody I'm representing, and instead of being a neutral party, I want to be proactive. Well, ultimately, in my situation, and from 1997, was I was at a party with the seller, and that group of friends said, so how did John do? And he's like, oh, great. But kind of gave away my bottom dollar. And I'm like, I didn't. And then I was with the other group of friends, and how did John do? Well, he kind of told him my top dollar, but he did great other than that.
Right.
And nothing could have been further from the truth. But that was the perception.
Right.
And if that's the perception from friends,
Yeah.
what is it when you got somebody that you're just representing on a transaction that you really don't have a deep relationship with?
Right.
How is that trust built? And I want to build the trust by showing you that I'm going to dig my heels in and put my claws in, and I'm going to represent you so that you're treated fairly in this transaction and everything goes in your way if there's a 50-50 item.
Yes.
And that's that's what I want. And I can't do that. If I'm a dual agent and the buyer has inspections and says, hey, John, what do you think? Well, we're thinking about asking for this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be neutral.
Yeah.
Because I represent the seller also. So I can't give advice. I can't even say, normally in this situation, I would say this, and I can't even do that.
No.
So
it's very touchy.
Yeah.
So I don't like it.
So I'm not a fan. Yeah. Now, there are times, for example, if I'm representing maybe a bank on a foreclosure property, mm-hmm. and a buyer comes in and wants to buy it, the bank has their own legal team that's not asking for my input.
Okay.
They're going to come up with their own negotiations. They're going to come up with their own rules. Dual agency is also maybe a little bit more acceptable if there's no inspections, because it's one less thing to negotiate. Sometimes in new construction, the sellers are very veteran sellers, and they know how to negotiate, and they know what their negotiation limit is.
Because the seller is the builder usually.
Yes, correct. So those situations, yes, I'm good with, but I would say 90% of the transactions we have, I just don't like dual agency, because it puts you in a spot that, it's great from the financial standpoint. I get both sides of the commission, but I didn't really do the work that I would have done if I would have represented just one of the parties.
Right.
I would have done a lot more work, because I'm gonna dig my heels in.
Yeah, because otherwise you feel like you're falling short on your responsibility to your clients.
Right. It's awkward, and it's something. Yeah, and we all know agents that do it frequently.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, they're not here at RE/MAX Rising, but I don't know what their complaint ratio is, but from people who, as a managing broker, I don't hear a lot of complaints from the public. Knock on wood.
That's good.
I don't hear a lot of complaints, because we don't do a lot of dual agency.
I love that. I love that about you,
Yes.
by the way.
Yes. Well, thank you.
So I discovered, after doing a little digging, my sale, my husband and I had bought, and I
Had
went
dual
back
agency.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
because when we had
And
to
you
sell,
and you didn't know it.
I don't recall any of that,
Mm-hmm.
because you and I and every agent that you have come through here, we talk about how to operate with new clients,
Right.
when you meet them, and the buyer consultation. And we did that early on,
Yes.
when that wasn't the thing that NAR wanted anybody
Right.
to do, right?
I've been coaching since we opened in 2016. I've been coaching to educate your clients. I mean, what we want, especially, I used to love first-time home buyers. Those were my favorite clients to work with.
Me too.
And first-time home buyers, because it's a whole process.
Fresh.
It's a blank canvas, and I can teach them home ownership versus somebody who's had multiple transactions with other agents, and maybe have one impression of the way a real estate transaction is done, and my impression is very different. Like there's it's a high percentage of people that I talk to that have been involved in a transaction where there's dual agency.
Yeah.
It's a high percentage of people I talk to. But my clients, none of my clients are going to tell. I mean, two of them are going to tell you.
Right.
Yeah, two of them are going to tell you he does. But the update, the fast forward from 1997, I've had multiple transactions with each of those people since, and no issues, no dual agency, and they saw that was kind of a one-off transaction. Now, ultimately, at the end of it, on that transaction, had someone else been representing them, we probably still would have ended up at 195.
Oh, yeah,
That still would have been the price, but it's the perception.
exactly. And sometimes the perception is all it is for somebody to
Exactly.
take a running start with that.
Yep. But they see that, okay, he's getting both sides of the commission, but what's he doing for me? Because they're right. They're right. I'm getting twice the commission, and I'm really doing half of the work I would do because I'm not even really representing anybody.
Well,
I'm Switzerland.
and the work that we do, I think so many people don't really understand what exactly we do throughout the process.
That's a problem.
Like our offers
Mhm.
isn't where it stops. I know I personally, I attend every inspection because I want to hear about everything firsthand so I can get things rolling if I need
I don't want somebody
anything
to have
else
to
and
interpret it.
questions. Exactly, right? And that way you can talk about it with your clients right then and there and
Yep.
closings and all that stuff.
Yep.
I like to be very involved and pretty much hold people's hands through the whole process.
100%. That's the whole, that's representation. That's I like to say I'm an extra set of eyeballs that's with you on this that does it every day.
Yes.
I'm a trained set of eyeballs. I'm gonna be, when we walk through the house, I'm gonna notice that the radon system that was installed 5 years ago isn't working.
Right. All the little things that
Yes.
you pointed out to people. And I think consumers, I just know with my experience with my friends and clients I've worked with the last 4 years, something like that. They appreciate the brutal honesty that I give them and
Yeah.
point things out because
Mhm.
why not?
Yeah, and confession time. I wasn't always like that. When I got into real estate, I was young.
Mhm.
I was a people pleaser. I didn't want to tell somebody, "Hey, your house has a smell to it, and
Yeah.
your house stinks." I guess I wasn't tough enough,
Yeah.
and I was always trying to sugarcoat things.
Mhm.
And I became much more successful when I became brutally honest and direct. When I became brutally honest, and I can walk in a house and say, "I'm getting a cat and a dog smell in here."
Yeah.
I'll walk in and I will tell people, "You may not like me at the end of this, but I'm going to tell you things you need to hear."
Yeah.
And I didn't come here to become your friend. I came here to get your house sold for the top dollar.
Exactly. Because that is
Yep.
your end goal, to help people do what
Right.
needs to be done to sell their house.
Mhm. And I actually found that being brutally honest, you can build better friendships and better relationships with the clients. Because when you sugarcoat it and they find out from somebody else that, why didn't you
Why didn't they say
yeah,
that?
why didn't you tell me that there was a pet smell in the house?
Yeah.
And they have to hear it from somebody else. I think some people think, well, it's a third party telling them, so I'm not going to get in trouble for it. Oh, I think it's worse if you bit your tongue on
Yeah.
something that you should have voiced.
I agree. So that leads me to the value. I love these handouts, by the
Yes.
way.
Yes.
This one's from Illinois Realtor. This was from the Way Forward. The value of a realtor and buying a home. I bet you could rattle off a lot of this stuff.
The value in buying a realtor and buying. First of all, let's start with the word value. How do you know what you're paying is the right price? Having a trained realtor. So there's appraisers,
Mhm.
and I get asked all the time, can you come appraise my house? I can't. I'm not an appraiser.
No.
Appraisers deal with science,
Mhm.
and they have to prove value.
Yeah.
I'm a realtor. I'm more in touch with what's happening now versus the data that an appraiser is going to look at from the past.
Right.
I'm more in touch with how many buyers are in the market right now. How much would a buyer sell your house for? How much would they pay for your house
Mhm.
in this market right now versus how much would they have paid for it 4 months ago?
Right.
So
Real-time market value.
yes, real-time market value. And that's one of the advantages of a realtor, is saying, okay, a home like this that hasn't closed yet. So the appraisers don't know about this deal because it hasn't closed yet. But talking with another realtor in my office,
Yeah.
they shared that this home went for $225 and it's identical to this one 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're asking $240, I think that we need to maybe come up with a better offer. This morning, I'm dealing with a newer agent who's negotiating a house, and the house just hit the market for $199,900. It's been on the market for 4 days.
Okay.
So most thoughts are, we need to come in close to asking price. This is a new listing.
Mhm.
However, when the new agent and I were sitting down looking at the value, we're like, this house is overpriced.
Yeah.
This house it's only 1,100 square feet, and they're asking this much. We need to come in. Listen to this. On this 199, we came in $25,000 under asking price.
Really?
Yeah, and the seller made a small move down to show us good faith, and we stayed at our price, 25,000 below.
Mm-hmm.
Then an hour later, they came down $15,000, and then and ultimately, my guess, I told the agent, I said, I'll be shocked if we don't get this for the $25,000 off.
Yeah.
We're gonna end up getting this. That's the value. That's one of the values. Going through, and this might not be necessarily popular with buyers, but going through the inspection process.
Yeah.
Buyers see a home inspection that has 20 items on it, and they're like, oh my God, what am I buying? I'm buying a clunker of a house. When really, a home inspection is kind of meant to give you a snapshot of that house.
Yeah.
I've seen new construction houses with 10, 12 items on.
Yeah, like a honey-do list.
A honey-do list. And it's not meant to, we're not selling new construction on every house.
Right.
You're selling a house, you're buying a house that's 30 years old. There's going to be items. And some of those items are things that are considered maintenance.
Yes.
So when we see 20 items, usually maybe 2 or 3 of those items are legitimate.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just maintenance-y things that are, a buyer inherits maintenance issues.
Yes.
But if things are broken or safety issues, then we need to ask the seller for it. Yeah. And having that moxie, having that knowing what to ask for, knowing what's fair, knowing what maybe we can push it a little bit with certain clients. And we all want to represent our clients and get them the most we can on every transaction. I want my sellers to have to give as little as they have to on that. But that's another value of the realtor. Just handling the paperwork and making sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. I've seen situations where sellers put themselves in a spot by agreeing to an offer that is contingent upon the buyer selling their house. Yeah. And the buyer's house isn't even on the market yet. But yet the seller's taking it off the market while they're waiting for this, and they don't even really understand what they agreed to. Mm-hmm. And now they're locked up for 30 days waiting for these people to sell their house, and they have no control over it. Yeah. That's the protection of a realtor saying, okay, we need to treat this like it's a first right of refusal. Mm-hmm. So you can still continue to try to sell the house, and the buyer still gets their last crack to say, yes, we want it at all costs while we're trying to sell our house. So understanding how to coordinate that. The safety of using a realtor on a showing. Having a realtor that's going to take people through versus you having strangers come in your home. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stories about realtors, bad things happening to realtors. Knock on wood again, we haven't had anything major in Bloomington Normal, but we also talk about safety a lot. We talk about it a lot. And we'll do things to kind of protect, I don't really want to say protect ourselves, but to minimize the exposure we have. Yeah. And there's a lot of realtor tricks and tips, and I don't want to I don't know who's going to give it away. I don't know who's going to be watching this. So I don't want to tell what that you're under suspicion when you hear us say this. Yeah. But there are a lot of things that you take a risk as a seller when people come into your home. Mm-hmm. Taking that off of you and putting that on a realtor who is trained. Yep. We have a lockbox that can tell when people come in your house and when they leave your house, and when we have a showing system, so I know who's been in your home. Very rarely have we had any incidences at all in Bloomington Normal pertaining to theft or anything like that you might be exposed to as a homeowner. Right. That probably just listed 5 or 6 advantages of using a realtor. So many more. But if you have a problem with your appraisal and understanding how to fight that and having the data to fight that, and if you indeed would like that appraisal to change, which is another thing that a lot of times I'll hear agents, right where I'm going. Yep. I'll hear a lot of buyers agents saying, hey, the house didn't appraise. What can we do to help get that appraisal up? And I'm like, you're representing the
Give them a
buyer.
better deal.
Yeah, let's get a lower price. Let's go to the seller and ask them to lower the price versus trying to get the price up and have the buyer pay the price that we already agreed to.
Yeah.
Let's try to get them a better deal. I mean,
Yeah.
if it didn't appraise, I think the burden of proof would be on the seller side,
Yes.
not the buyer side. So just things that we do every day in real estate, we do provide a lot of value. And I probably only named 5 or 6,
Yeah.
but I can, if we sat here for a couple hours, I could go over 20, 30 items.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And one of the big key components is our relationships.
Yeah, that's a big one. The network that we have.
Yes.
I need to discover. I've got my home inspector that is really good because we're concerned about the roof here, and this home inspector is really good with roofs. So let's hire this guy. He's in my network. We get him up there. He looks at the roof and he says, I would recommend that we get somebody else to further examine this area here. I've got a roofer that I could call that's going to come up there, and the home inspectors they're not necessarily licensed in roofing.
Right.
They're not necessarily HVAC specialists. So if there is an issue, they're going to say, I recommend you consult with
additional like a specific contractor for that issue.
And how many home buyers have that network? No, not many. We as realtors, we definitely have that. And we have our starting 5, and then we have a backup, and then we have a backup to the backups.
Yep.
And that's what we do. We have the plumbers that we call, and we have, I don't know how many times, a plumber has bailed me out at the 9th hour because we're right at our inspection deadline, and we need somebody to go over and look at that water heater and say if it still has any life left. And having those relationships, we're going to get a lot further than somebody who's calling us and saying, I know you don't know me, but I've got 1 hour to find out if this water heater is good or bad. I'll get to you December 29th.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not saying they'll drop anything, but we have regular relationships and we send them a lot of business.
Yep. So vendors and then lenders and insurance people.
You hit on another one. The lenders, knowing what lender is going to work with what buyer. Of course, we always give 2 or 3 names out, but there's certain buyers that I know if there's a buyer that's a first-time home buyer that's going to qualify for some grants. Sandy Vick at First State Mortgage would be a great one because she's got access to all of those programs. If you got somebody who's going to be putting down a large down payment, maybe a bank is going to be able to give a better interest rate than a mortgage broker, and having that knowledge. And when do we need to get an attorney involved? Do we need an attorney in this transaction? There's some transactions that I would say maybe you don't need an attorney. If it is cut and dried, if it's a cash deal, there's no inspections, there's no appraisal, there's no hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
And I like to call those hurdles going down the track. So you're at the starting line when you get your offer accepted, and the finish line is closing.
Yep.
The less hurdles you have to jump over on the way down the track, the less problems that there could be.
Yes.
So if you have no hurdles, maybe we don't need to bring an attorney involved.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, 99% of the time, I want an attorney.
Great.
I want an attorney because you're buying a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 house. The investment of $450, $500 to have everything looked at, your T's crossed, your I's dotted. Because Jen, you and I are not attorneys.
Nope.
We're around real estate law a lot. We see it.
Yes.
But I'm not an attorney, and I don't know everything there is about negotiating the law.
Right.
And that's why we have them and we work well. And I feel like a dream team is we got a great realtor, we got a great attorney, we've got a great home inspector, we've got a great lender, and this is all part of my network.
Right.
That we do this every day. And
together we can all advocate for our clients.
Oh yeah, we can advocate. Yeah, my neck is stiff, so I had to do this.
That's okay. Sorry about that. Well, is there anything else you think we should touch on?
I do. The one thing that a big change in our industry, August 17th of 2024.
Yeah.
We had buyer agency, and I still know this is kind of fresh to a lot of the public. And when an agent says, I'm asking you to sign this piece of paper, before we look at this house, that's required. That's actually Illinois license law now,
Yeah.
that we have to have a form signed in order to show you a house.
Yeah.
Now, and on that form, we have to agree what we're going to get paid.
Yes.
And let's just say, and I'm going to throw a number out there just for the sake of discussion. Say I'm going to get paid 5%.
Okay.
I would put that in the buyer agency agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put how long our relationship's going to happen. Sometimes that's 30 days. Sometimes it's a week.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know you very well and you don't know me very well, we need to get to know each other. I can't just say, hey, Jen, good to meet you. Let's get married. Sign this. We need to date. We need to get to know each other and see if we're a good fit.
Yes.
Because I'm not for everybody.
Because all that is flexible.
Right. It's all negotiable. That's all.
Yes.
The August 17th, 2024. That's the big change. And I can show you any house you want to look at.
Right.
But you need to sign this agreement.
Yeah.
So the things that I want to talk about from the public is we hear a lot of people saying, yeah, well, I looked at a house 2 months ago. I don't really know that agent, but I signed something that says I wouldn't buy anything for 6 months from somebody else.
Yeah.
So what we are training at RE/MAX Rising is when we get to know them up front, the first showing, let's make it as non-committal as possible, because I don't expect somebody to sign up with me after they've known me for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to earn their business.
Yes.
So we use typically a non-exclusive,
mm-hmm.
and the on the first try or the first showing, it might be just for that one property.
Yeah.
So hey, we're going to be looking at 123 Main Street. This document is only binding you to me if you buy this house.
Right.
If you go buy another house next week from another realtor, that's fine. That you're not violating our agreement here. And I think that's very important that the public know that there is a non-exclusive and there's an exclusive.
Yeah.
And the exclusive is after, hey, I know I want to work with you, Jen.
Right.
You're my girl. I don't want to keep having to sign these things every week. Mm-hmm. Let's just sign one for the next 6 months and buy us after we've dated for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So that's something that I think is very important. And we get a lot of pushback from the consumers because they're like, well, I've never had to sign anything before.
Right.
And here's the other one. Sometimes you'll see it in this market. They'll say, well, we've looked at a couple houses with other realtors.
Nobody made me sign it.
And nobody made me sign it. Well, you're dealing with somebody that doesn't have good integrity.
Right.
You're dealing with somebody who doesn't understand the rules. You're dealing with somebody who, if they're willing to break that rule.
What other rules are they willing to bend as well?
Because it tells me they're trying to take the easy way out. They're trying to do, because it's a lot easier for me to show you a house if I'm not making you sign this document.
Yep.
But it's not right.
No, not at all.
The law says, now I'm not, my opinion is I'll keep my opinion neutral on, or I won't say I'll be Switzerland on this. But the rules are the rules, and we need to follow them. And if somebody's willing to break that, I'm not certain they're going to be looking after your best interest. So that just be on guard that if somebody didn't show you, they're breaking the rules.
Exactly. Do you remember early on when I started about those forms?
Refresh my memory. I remember a lot.
My buyer representation forms, everybody I met with, everybody that I would work with, I would meet with them and go over those forms and explain them to them.
And doing it before it was a law.
Yes. So I've always had that in practice.
We've been training.
And you're like, yeah.
We've been training that's the right way to do it. And it wasn't necessarily the way everybody did it. Right. It was a lot of people took the easy way out and they said, okay, you're getting ready to write an offer on a house. I guess I probably should get hired, even though I've been working for you for 2 months without being hired. And there was a lot of trust. And I'll be honest with you, that's how I did it. I'm more of a handshake guy.
Right.
I don't want somebody to work with me because they're under contract. I want them to work with me because they like the work I'm doing.
Yep.
So I think if I had to add one thing to our podcast today, that's what I want to share is you don't necessarily have to lock in with that realtor for a long period of time.
No.
Let's get to know each other first. And I think that's the right way.
Right. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to agents, you always say everybody should play nice in the sandbox.
You get a lot further. Yep, you get a lot further. And there's times when it's hard. There's times we're tested.
Sometimes, I mean, yeah.
We're tested sometimes.
You get a lot more flies with honey than you do with Shaduki.
So to real estate agents' credit, a lot of times we'll internalize things,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll take it that they are not going to push my clients around, and we put up a wall and we resist.
Yeah.
And then we learn all the facts, and we're like, oh. And if we play nice and say, hey Jen, can you explain to me why you did that, or why your client did that?
Yeah.
And then you explain it to me, and I get it. And I'm like, okay. So an example, I had a seller one time that very upset with me. Very upset with me. It was the only time I ever got a 4-star review on Zillow. He was upset with me, and this was back in the day before homes sold on day one.
Right.
This is back in the day when people didn't offer you full price.
Mm-hmm.
I got him a full price offer with no inspections the first weekend it was on the market.
That's good.
Yeah, and he was upset with me because one of our 10 people that showed the house left this sliding door to their back unlocked.
Uh-huh.
And understandably, I mean, I don't want somebody, even if it's for 15 minutes, somebody leaving my sliding door open.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me that did it.
Right.
And it wasn't something that I put on the MLS sheet. Hey, please leave sliding door unlocked. And he was upset with the way things played out.
Yeah.
Because of that, and he expressed his displeasure with me,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately it was the last agent that showed the house that left it unlocked.
Yeah.
Well, that last agent was the one who brought us an offer.
Yeah.
And so how much do we want to, when they bring you an offer?
Yeah.
And I will be honest, I probably didn't portray the anger the seller had, and I took it instead of passing it off to the other buyer.
Absolutely.
But that buyer felt like we had a super smooth transaction.
Yeah.
Now, they may not have felt like that had we went like this from the beginning.
Absolutely.
So playing well in the sandbox is part of it. Is if there is a bump in the road or something that's uncomfortable, let's let our clients have the most comfortable ride they can, and let's take a little bit of that for ourselves.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
Yes.
So what else would you like to share on my podcast about the real estate industry itself? It's really just ever evolving. It's changed a lot since I started, because I've only been doing it since the end of 21.
Mm-hmm.
And you have been in it for how long?
Since 1996.
Oh my God.
Getting ready to 30 years.
I'm not going to act like that's old because I graduated in 95.
It is. I mean, I've been doing real estate my whole life. And you said, is there anything I want to add about the real estate industry? And you asked me a question earlier and I didn't fully answer it. What sort of things that I look for in a realtor? And I kind of answered it. It's not the sales mentality.
Right.
You know, I love, like I've already said, I love teachers. I love people from the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
I love bartenders.
Yeah.
Bartenders make great realtors because they're good listeners.
Yeah.
There's a lot of professions that really stick out as great potential realtors. So I always keep my eyes open.
Yeah.
And this is only one way we get agents. I mean, we get a lot of word of mouth. We just hired a new agent that told me she checked with a bunch of people on where she got a real estate license. Yeah. Where should she go? And everybody was saying RE/MAX Rising. Well, that's a result of us attracting. Mm-hmm. And when you put out a good product, and we've developed a lot of great agents like yourself.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to attract people because they see we have a record of getting agents. You know, the only 20% of the agents make it.
Yeah.
Our percentage is much higher at RE/MAX Rising, and the public sees that.
Yeah.
So we do draw, but I also intentionally look at people that I think could do better They have talent, and they could probably make more money if they kept their options open
Yeah.
and considered real estate. So a lot of times I'll have meetings. My Saturday mornings are typically, I'll have 1 or 2 meetings almost every Saturday morning just to say, hey, here's what real estate is like.
Yeah.
And for anybody who wants to have that conversation with me, I love that conversation. And I'm going to be honest with you, because there's people that I've said, I just don't see real estate being for you.
Yeah. That's good though.
And like I said, I've said no a lot more than I've said yes, but I love new agents because they don't have bad problems. They don't have bad habits yet.
Yeah.
So I say yes to a lot more new agents than I do veteran agents, to be honest.
Totally
which is
understandable.
which is very different than our industry.
So I was wondering too, with all the changes with real estate that have been into play that this last year plus, with that buyer agreement and transparency being number one, do you think that's going to phase out a lot of the veteran agents that might have bad habits?
Already has.
Yes?
Yes, it already has. Yeah, we've seen a lot of drops, and one of the biggest reasons why agents get out of the business is things change.
Yeah.
People don't like change. The only thing,
roll with it.
The only person who likes change is a baby with a wet diaper. Nobody else likes change. I must be a baby with a wet diaper because I love change.
I do too.
Change is opportunity.
Exactly.
So, yeah, when you go through a COVID market, and you can look at the 10 years before the COVID market, and you can see the same top 5 or 10 realtors in Bloomington Normal, and then you put the COVID market with an inventory short, and people need to change their plans. And now you shake it up, and now there's a new top 10.
Yeah.
I love it because change brings opportunity.
It really does. And you should always be able to be creative and evolved and roll with the changes.
And the people who don't get out.
Yeah. I try to teach everything as a learnable moment.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And if the market crashes, we shouldn't say the C word. There's first of all, the people, the fear of that in Bloomington Normal, because we've had so many good years in a row, the bottom's going to fall out. It's basic economics. It's supply and demand. We have to have way more listings than we have buyers.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen anytime soon unless there's something really bad in the Bloomington Normal economy. So let's forget that. But if something bad happens in the market, interest rates jump up to 8%, or COVID hits, or Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac aren't giving loans anymore, like what happened in 2007. That creates an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I love those opportunities. And it's sometimes we kind of get bored when we're going through real estate. We're going through our lives, and we've
monotony.
Been the same thing. I kind of like a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, because it's turned you into a problem solver.
Yeah.
Like, how can we swerve and change and adapt?
Yeah. We saw RE/MAX rising as a company. We've seen our market share go up and up and up as this COVID market has evolved, because I feel like we're ahead of the way we handle things. We do so many trainings.
Yes. I have talked to a lot of other agents, and I have a lot of friends that aren't necessarily with RE/MAX rising.
Yep.
And there's no amount of training.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's different. Other companies do it differently.
Yeah, it's very different training.
We do a lot of
personal, in-house, in your face, and you have to take advantage of it. You have to be the one to have the initiative.
Yes, it's not we're getting our information from a trainer who is in Florida.
Yeah,
we are getting it from top agents here in our market.
Yes,
and we're hearing what they're doing in Central Illinois, and it's a lot more impactful because it really is we're training about your market.
Yep. I love it. Well, I really appreciate you
anytime
joining me today for this new podcast show that's all about getting education and information out there for the consumer.
We did that today.
I think so.
Yeah.
Jen Johnson, RE/MAX Rising. I will be dropping links in, and if you would like, I will have yours as well.
Perfect.
And if there's anything else we can add, we'll do another podcast.
Sounds good. I love it.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.